What's good, y'all? Um, this video, I'm gonna talk about how life and when God shows up to show you that it's time to slow down. That where he pretty much forces your hand to stop working, to stop doing the harm that you don't see is harming you. I guess a better way to explain this is I'll speak through experience. I remember when I used to live at my parents' house, and I was working on my personal brand. I was doing TikTok shop, and I was doing like too many things at once. And my brain was so I don't want to say fried, but it was so like harmed, if that makes sense. And I remember sitting at my desk and that same one that I have right here. And I remember just like talking to myself and asking kind of like the question, like, what do I want my personal brand to be? And what product do I want to create? I had so many questions running in my head, like, oh, I have to post like 5 videos today for shop. And then, oh, I got to post on my my personal brand. And I had so many things compiled to do that it was so stressful, like beyond stressful. And I remember being in my room and my girlfriend, um, she, bless her heart, she stuck through with me throughout all like those hardships of dealing with that and having like this hustle culture mindset of like, I need to be successful. I need to do this. I need to make sure X, Y, and Z is done before I can have a fulfilled day, before I can eat, before I can actually put a smile on my face. And there was this moment where I'll actually get to it at this point is where you are sitting at your desk. That's what happened to me. You sit at your desk, you're doing your work, and for me, personal brand and shop. And I remember God like took my hand in like a mental, spiritual way, and he stopped me. Like I remember my brain being so pressed and stressed that it turned out to where he like forced my hand to stop. And it's one of those situations and environments that was like a huge turning point for me that I feel like is so hard to describe. You just have to experience it. It's kind of like when God shows up in your life is when you actually have like a testimony of like speaking your experience of like God showed up in my life. And in this time was when I was building my relationship with him, when I was growing closer to God, like day by day, month by month, like I would take action toward doing something new, like showing myself like a new direction. And I remember my girlfriend was like, again, bless her heart, she was like helping me, guide me um away from like this bad habit and not away from my purpose, not away from making things that fulfill me, but she took away the harm. And it's so good to have someone that can come into your life and bless you that way. It may be the opposite in your thoughts of like, this person isn't helping me, like they're doing the quite opposite. Like I have these goals and but they weren't goals. Let's keep that in mind. These were not goals. They were not like, I don't know how to explain it, like testimony of like a good experience. Like it was very negative mentally and led to spiritually. And I remember God like in my mind stopping the stress, stopping the emotional weight that I like forced myself to carry. And I don't know the best way to explain it, but just in my experience, that was like a huge learning curve for me. And I hope like sharing this experience is like maybe even helping you if you're like in hustle culture and you're like genuinely like you feel like you can't have a good day and you subconsciously know it. I have like this little thing in my mouth with that. That you subconsciously like know it, you tell yourself it, but you don't listen to yourself. And that was like the most annoying thing for me personally was like I didn't listen to myself. Didn't have a care in the world. And I believe that God knew that and he knew that I wasn't going to listen to anything. I wouldn't even listen to myself. And I think God can see things for what it is that most people can't see or show. I think that's another thing too. I believe he helped me see that part of me that was ugly. And I think that was one of the many, but one of the most significant way that has led me to a different direction where I'm not always, you know, always carrying this weight. So if you feel like you're carrying such a huge baggage in your life that is like so unnecessary that you can control, I think is like the most like big part about it is telling yourself that. And you have to physically remove yourself from the environment, from the process. And it wasn't just God that like did it for me, but he showed me the way. He showed me mentally in like your brain, your thoughts. He showed me by giving me kind of like that retrospect of getting out of that position of telling me, not telling me, but showing me, like removing that thought, removing that what is that word? Provoking thought of that emotional and like mental weight that I carried. And I think the best way to reach that point for you personally, if you're experiencing this, is to slow down, listen to your thoughts. I think a big thing that we don't introduce to our daily lives is to mentally breathe. I feel like no one does that hardly at all. And if they do, they're a hella interesting person. They're very unique. They're authentic in their own way. That's like the beautiful thing about it. And I think that's so beautiful about people. And I think God helped show me that is when you slow down, when you breathe, you can see the beauty in life. It doesn't always have to be about the number in your bank account, but work for it. Work as hard as you can to make money, life changing money. I get the hustle, I get the drive. Make it your mission, your devotion every day. I heard this passage that really reframed the way that I think about goals and consistency because I first started out my journey as like wanting this big success, like instantly, like I wanted it now. And like that overnight success type deal. And there's this like story passage, kind of a quote, but not, I don't know, passage maybe, talks about how water in a river or a passage of water flowing, how it can cut a rock right in half. And it's not because of the force, but it's because of the consistency of it like pushing against that rock. So being the fact that the water cut the rock in half, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in a day, in a week, maybe in a week, but who like we're not getting specifics. um that whole story I feel like is such a good eye opener when it comes down to the way that you look at your progress, the way that you look at your daily like engagement. Like for me, back then, the beginning of this whole video of talking about my story of being at the same desk, like I need to do this, I need to do that, and saying these like to-dos without like an actual action behind it. Like that's another thing, but that's a whole different video. And having all this weight, the stress, and feeling like I have to do all these things before I can even live life. In that passage, I think it's like a beautiful way because a river is flowing regardless. It's doing the work regardless, you know? And it's just consistent. It does it every day. And I think the best way is to just build that habit, build that consistency, build the formation of doing it every day to where it's familiar to you, where you know what you're doing and it's not a problem. Just do it once. Like I think that's like a great way to look at it is do it once and start small. I got to swear by that. Start small because once you realize that it's not going to disappear right away and you're going to want to go hard like toward your goals like after a week or two. Like I don't think people really talk about this, but as someone that is like devoted to your goals and like your purpose and like stuff like this that is like social media driven, That's a whole different video, but like the motives that I feel like social media really presses on people, I think is such a huge thing no one talks about. In the way that this can relate to this video is hustle culture. Back to that topic is hustle culture. A lot of people, a lot of kids my age, 20-year-olds, 15-year-olds, like there's people feeling behind and they're 15. Live, breathe, go shoot some hoops, go. I don't even play basketball, I don't know why I'm saying that. But like do something that you enjoy, not just video games. Read a book, do something that is fun. Like today I played I don't even know what it's called. It's like New York Times games. It's an app on your phone. You play Wordle, you play like these little mini games, and I felt so behind playing this game. I was like, I need to do this every day. I need to build this as a consistent thing. One time I do every day. It makes you really think about shit. I'm getting off topic, but I think it's such an important thing to really look at what you're doing every day and seeing who you are. And if you're a believer in Christ, I think it's such an important thing to really ask God to look over you, pray that He guides you in the right direction, and ask Him for a sign. I don't even think I was asking for a sign back then because I was so consumed by my work. I was so consumed by the process. And I don't think that being, what's the word? It's obsessed, but it starts with a D. Anyhow, I'll just use obsessed. When you're obsessed, delusional, when you're delusionally obsessed with something, I think it's a beautiful process, but it can be totally turned in an evil way if you're not doing it, I feel like, in the proper process. I think delusion is such an important tool because it's it's so many ways of self-improvement, self-discovery. I discovered a lot about myself in that process, and I am blessed that I went through that. I burned a lot of bridges and I had to rebuild them. You know, I think when you're obsessed with the process, it's good to have God by your side. Have God by your side in that process because He will give you the reality checks. He will give you the challenges. He'll give you the perseverance. He'll give you a, a lot of what you need to really see yourself for the bad habits. Not just providing you for the guidance for the good ones, but providing you from the clarity and the self-discovery in these bad habits that you do every single day, and see yourself for who you are, genuinely, authentically for who you are. I like to think about this quote by, I think it's Thomas Edison. To be honest, I don't know. I'm not good with historical people, but Thomas Edison, I think. I don't know if I just said that. Um, his quote goes about I don't remember it clearly, and I always try to relate back to this, but I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that do not work. And it's essentially, I think that's a good way to look at the process of like healing yourself or like trying to get yourself out of the hustle culture is number one, have God by your side. But two, every time you attempt to change, you will fall back. Eventually, you will fall back into that bad habit, whatever it might be. If you're trying to like count your progress, whatever it might be, you're gonna fall back. If you don't, awesome, that's beautiful. But more than likely, most people, I do it. It happens to me all the time. Happens to me all the time. You know, I'm just starting to read Atomic Habits. I've been told like 9, like 0.5 out of 10, like people love that book. It's great for habits. And then we always fall back on our systems and building those proper systems to build a better, healthy life. Anywho, that's the video for the day. Hope you have a good day. Peace out.